move closer if you can't. We thought about the PA for a minute, and it's going to be just too much. So I'm just going to speak loudly, and again, if you can't hear me, come on closer and get friendly loud. So, yeah, I mean, I started fencing when I was 13, when I was a kid, and just all of you young people here, yeah, we were kids once, and we loved to sword fight too. Now we're old. What I want to do is just give a quick background. I know a lot of you, I don't know, and so just to give a background, like who is this guy talking tonight and who made those sculptures? If you just go a few blocks down to Park Street, maybe you've seen the coyotes over the bridge between the Guadalupe Expressway and Market Street. Those are mine. There's two males, two females, listening, howling, an indigenous species that has expanded its territory during urbanization. Anyway, these were some of the first commissioned works that I made, and they're here as gateways in San Jose. So check them out if you haven't seen them. They're pretty cool. So this is me in 1984 marching into the Olympic Stadium in Los Angeles. It was definitely a life dream. And I remember this experience as we were all leaving the village at USC waving American flags. I love America and I'm proud to be an American. But I thought, why are we being divisive and aren't we all in this together? And so I quickly grabbed a napkin and drew that circle, that peace sign. That for me meant, you know, we're in this together, right? We're in this together. So, and that's me in my on guard stance back in the day. If you can't see, I'm sorry. Anyway, so if you go to downtown San Francisco, I have a couple of monuments, one block from Union Square, Confluence and Skyward, and actually the poet Scott Neese helped me with some haikus for the names there that are actually inscribed on the bases. This is, when we got the sculptures big enough, I was very happy to get them 24 feet in the air. They're 24 feet high bronzes. And this is just this idea of building a bronze that's bigger than you is really an exciting event and an amazing experience. So check those out at the corner of Post and Mason next time you're in downtown San Francisco. Over in San Ramon, I did a firefighter that's rescuing a baby, a hero. So that's over there. In San Mateo, the Wounded Man at the San Mateo Performing Arts Center. 9-foot piece, and then I did this 20-foot piece in a private sculpture park in New York. So just, and then these are up in Sonoma County. I did one of these for Deloche Vineyards. If you go up wine tasting to Deloche Vineyards, there's a 17.5-foot sculpture called Earth and Sky. I also do a lot of portraits. This is Martin Luther King Jr. I'm just giving you like a background. I teach sculpture. I love painting. I teach students how to make eyes and noses and mouths and the human anatomy. I teach artistic anatomy as well. And I think a lot of that came out of being a fencer, being an athlete, and loving the human body and how it moves. I work in clay. I met another sculptor, another Scott tonight, about working in clay. I love clay. A lot of these are directly modeled in clay from live models. And then at the last Olympics, was it the last Olympics, the 2012 Olympics? Am I dating? Is that the last one in London? Yeah. I was with a group. I had an exhibition with a group of athletes who are all Olympians. There's an organization called Art of the Olympians, and they're all different athletes, Olympians who are artists, photographers, painters, sculptors. And we had a group show over in London, and I made some sculptures inspired by thinking about the London Olympics. And that how we all can fly, we have that Olympian in us. You know, I believe that being an Olympian is really just this idea of pursuit of excellence over time. And we all do that. You all do that. Pursuit of excellence over time. And so these were these winged forms that I made thinking of the 2012 Olympics. This is me in my studio working on some things. So I wanted to show you how I made these sculptures. So these are the armatures. The amazing Connie called me up, and I hadn't done anything fencing related in almost 30 years. Right after the Olympics, I made a portrait of another Olympian, Vincent Bradford for a perpetual trophy, and I haven't done anything that resembled fencing since that time, back in 1984-85. So anyway, here's the armature, the central armature, and then I add clay onto it. I just thought it might be interesting for you to kind of see how I do it, and then I kind of sketch out the forms, and then block them in. This is all done from memory. I work from the live model a lot, but in this case I was trying to create this. Connie and I talked about this idea of honoring this really spiritual moment. For me, it's a spiritual practice, art and fencing. It's a way of life, as Mike was alluding to. And so we wanted something that was exalting, celebratory, saluting, but also this idea of collaborating and working together as we all do. And so I knew there's going to be two figures in it, and we knew we didn't want it to be fighting, but rather in some ways working together. Anyway, so this was one of them. And then as a sculptor, I was very interested in the way they turn in space, so as you journey around them. So this is the original oil-based clay that I made the sculptures in. And then so there's two sculptures. And kind of a funny story, because really Connie said, Peter, we'd like a sculpture for the fencing center. And the way my process works, I always make 3 of anything that I do, just to really research with one, take risks with one, and then usually synthesize the idea. And I actually did make 3. I never showed her the 3rd one. I didn't like it and I destroyed it. But I made these 2, and I loved them both. And I presented the idea, and she said, well, I love one, but my husband John loves the other. And I said, you don't have to choose. You can get them both. And sure enough, we cast both of them in bronze. It's so great, and I'm so grateful, and it's so exciting to do. And I was so on fire and excited to be part of fencing again, which was so much of my life. And so you can see in the back this idea of those hands, clasping, which is very, very important part of the metaphor, the theme of this idea of unity and working together. And then this one, I just had to do this kind of leaping for joy, jumping for joy. And then my poet friend, my dear friend, Scott Neese, I don't know if you know that he's a really accomplished poet and works very hard at his craft. But I said, Scott, help me with the titles. Anyway, so we'll talk about that in a second. So then how do you make a bronze? So we're making a rubber mold. We hired a master mold maker. Here he is, Paul Groff, making these rubber molds. It's a long process. You might be familiar with it. Then a wax copy is made into the empty mold from liquid wax, and you end up with this hollow wax form. All the bronzes you see almost all of them were wax at one time, and here they are in parts, and then they get chased, very carefully cleaned up, then they get dipped in this like a plaster solution. Then the wax gets melted out, like that lost wax process you probably heard of, and then that yummy, delicious alchemy of the molten bronze being poured into those, what they call those cups or those shells, get filled up. I actually studied sculpture at San Jose State University, and I studied fencing with the head coach at San Jose State University, Olympic coach, Olympian Michael DeSaro. That's what brought me here. He was the best coach in the country at the time that I was fencing. But it had a bronze foundry at San Jose State, and I was very interested, and so I majored in sculpture back then. Then the shell is broken, open, and you have this bronze, and here we have some craftsmen cleaning, putting it back together, and then I'm here taking these photographs, supervising. And then it's colored. We color the piece with a hot, it's called patina, surface coloration, and then voila, you have it. And maybe without further ado, I'm gonna just unveil these right now. So this one's called the Salute. And actually, again, thank you. That is Scott Neese's title. A fencing specific, but also universal. That idea of honoring the other is so important. So this is the Salute, and this is called After the Final Touch. And I hope that you will touch them, turn them, touch them respectfully. This one kind of leans back. Be careful of the point. But as fencers, we're always careful of the point. But do be careful because it's sharp as it turns. And I think there's going to be other lighting. They're going to be maybe put over in another place, but for right now. But please don't be afraid. One of the reasons I work in bronze is because it's not that fragile, and you can touch it.